Welcome to Conversations That Matter. I'm Ron Gray, and Happy New Year to you and your family. Today we're continuing our series of A New Year, Better You, and I'm joined by my friend Jessica Bollinger. Welcome.
Hey, Ron.
Thanks for joining me.
Good to be here.
Jessie is a licensed clinical social worker and specializes in Imago Therapy. So she is joining us today to help us build better relationships in the new year. So I am glad you're joining us, and we're going to get right into it.
All right.
But first, I want you to tell us about you. Tell us about your professional life, your family life. I think it's always good for the listener to get to know the guest, and then we'll jump right into Imago.
Great. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I am kind of an entrepreneur also. I graduated in 1980 from the University of Kentucky with a degree in agricultural economics.
Oh, wow.
And I grew up in Louisville. And I get out of college. My dad says my resume sounds like I'm just like a free spirit.
Yeah.
The summer before I graduated, I rode a bicycle back from Seattle, Washington. I had that on my resume.
Wow.
Yeah, a tandem bicycle, and so I have that on my resume. My dad's like, "You're not going to get a job." And I said, "Dad, you know what Lexington needs is a fruit market," because I grew up in Louisville with Paul's. And so he says, "Well, look into it." And we found a location on Nicholasville Road next to Jeff's Car Wash, and we built a building, Jessica's Quality Fruits and Vegetables. I did that for 15 years.
Wow.
And Ron, what that taught me
Did
is...
you grow the vegetables?
No, I would drive a big box truck to Louisville about 3 times a week at 5 o'clock in the morning. Get up there about 5:30. Get up at 3:30. But I had a lot of local farmers that sold to me.
Yeah.
But that in my life taught me how much I loved people.
Yeah.
And then in 1994, I had a life event happen, and I thought, I want to go back and I want to help people. I want to help people in relationships and help kids in relationships. And I went back and got a master's of social work.
Wow.
Yeah. So kind of like the Greeks have different careers, student, soldier, so on like that. My life's been kind of like that, and I've loved everything that I've done.
Interesting. So when you moved into the space of clinical therapy, did you start with kids or families, couples, individuals?
Well, with individuals and couples.
Yeah.
And it's kind of something that happened in my own relationship that took me to learn the Imago work, which is what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
My partner and I were kind of in a power struggle, and I thought, how am I supposed to help other couples if my relationship's not hitting on all eight cylinders? And there was an article in the Family Networker, Psychotherapy Networker magazine in the fall of 1997. What is real love?
Yeah.
And the article in there talked about this Getting the Love You Want workshop, this Imago theory and what it's about. And I thought, that's what's going on. Yeah. And I had underlined almost every line of that article. And I show this to my wife now. I said, "Look at this. This is us." And she goes, "Yeah, sure." So I looked
You probably
up.
convinced her.
Yeah, I looked up online and found a workshop in the Maggie Valley of North Carolina.
Been there.
And and it was at this Chattahoochee Range, and I was able to use manipulation, which is one of my defensive adaptations. And we went. The 5-hour drive down there was kind of like, ooh. But coming back after learning how to be in relationship, a conscious relationship, that we're just like, clear the table, we're working on this, and rolled up our sleeves and just kept doing the work. And then Helen said, Jessie, she was the leader of that workshop. She said, "You ought to go get trained in this." And it was like that good parent saying, "Hey, I see this in you, go do it." I go, "Okay, tell me where."
Yeah.
And she sent me to Philadelphia to train with some special people up there. And so what I found from that, Ron, is how we become who we are by our childhood stuff. And how relationship triggers all of that, and how in relationship we can find out about it, live consciously, and live in our full alive self,
and still deal with it.
And deal with it.
Yeah. Tell us about your family.
Okay. We have a son, Lucas. He's 18. He's from Guatemala. Yeah. We fetched him back when he's 4 months old.
Oh, wow.
He's a senior at Dunbar. We live on a farm,
Yeah.
Carriage Station Farm, and my wife trains and teaches event riding, and we have a big boarding operation, about 35 horses.
Wow.
And we use these relational things in our work. We use this stuff with Lucas. So we go attend this workshop like in 97, right? We adopt Lucas. He's born in 2000, and we dialogue with Lucas. We use these methods with Lucas. So like he was about 5 years old, and he says he wants to dialogue with us about getting a cell phone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just really cool that Lucas sees us be able to negotiate, be able to talk, be able to work things out.
That's good.
And Ron, one of the things I love about you and what you do, that conversations, your theme, conversations that matter. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
All conversations matter.
Yeah.
And we should be able to talk
Whether
to
it
anybody
matters to
about
me or not, if
anything.
it matters to you, it matters.
It matters.
Yeah.
It matters. Exactly.
Get into a little bit about the structure and the principles of Imago Therapy and the high points of what's used in that type of work.
That's exactly right. Okay. Well, in Imago, it's the Latin word meaning image. And this is the theory about Imago, that when we're little and we're growing up, we get a template of what familiar love is. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have a brain here.
Yeah.
The podcasters can't see this brain, but it's just a rubber brain. It's not a real brain, but it's a brain cut in half, and we have the cortical region of our brain where we think, where the prefrontal lobe, where we're looking at each other and we're talking and we're hearing there, and there's a whole part underneath there called the limbic system of our brain in the bottom kind of inside core. Here's the limbic system, and that's where we hold implicit memory. Okay, and implicit memory is the first memory we ever had growing up. It's there's two types of memory: explicit, implicit. We're born with implicit. We don't get explicit memory till about 18 months, when the hippocampus gets fully formed. So before 18 months, that we're in our crib, and we wake up and we start to feel uncomfortable, and their mom comes and we start to relax. We start to relax in our body. So implicit shows up in all of our senses. And then after 18 months, when that hippocampus is more fully formed, then we can have explicit memory. Explicit memory, we can remember it in a chronological form.
Okay.
Yeah. So mom walks into our room. We're 18 months old, and we say, "Oh, good, it's time for the bottle," right? Well, so Harville, back in the 80s, he was a pastoral minister teaching at a Methodist university in Texas. He had a student walk up to him and say, "Harville, Dr. Hendricks, what's the secret about relationship?" And Harville says, he swallows, and he says, "I'm going to get back with you." In an hour, he had an appointment with his divorce attorney. And he's like, what happened? We started off so good, so in love, and we have these beautiful kids. What happened in our relationship? And something he just like dove down and researched and looked at all different kinds of theories and developmental, theories and so forth. And he came up with this Imago theory that, like, back to this template, that we get a template of what familiar love is. And beep, 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 we could meet all these people. And we meet all these people. There's thousands and thousands of people that we meet, and then boom, we fall in love with this person. Because unconsciously we see that they have that template of familiar love. Okay? So I always, when I explain this, I use myself for an example, that with my caregivers, my mom and my dad was one of 9 kids. My mom was an only child.
Wow.
My dad...
What a contrast.
Yeah. My dad, so I have 48 first cousins on my dad's side, Catholic family. My dad's dad used to tell all the kids, if I had another kid, I'd have one that could do something. And Dad says, "Oh, we would laugh at Daddy and say, well, Daddy, your chances are pretty slim if you don't have one that could do something yet." And but my dad, because we adapt to feel safe and feel loved, my dad at 5 years old starts working for my grandpa in the pest control business. And he's little and he can get underneath loading docks and soak crawl spaces and stuff like that. And there's pictures of him at 11 years old with a big tub full of rats, holding a big rat up, and he's got a gas mask on. So my dad's 89 years old, and he just now this year stopped going to the office every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Has he worked in pest control all these years?
No, he got into the building business.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, they were putting they were mixing DDT on the kitchen table back then, right? Right. Which might be why he has Parkinson's. So my mom was an only child, like I said, and unfortunately my grandmother Beverly was an alcoholic. And so my mom did not get modeled touchy-feely love. We have every potential to have every trait and quality. So that was sort of a lost part. My mom's a great mom, don't get me wrong. She's wonderful, she's beautiful. And she adapted to whatever she needed to do to survive, and there's this whole adult child of alcoholic. There's lots of books about that. My mom's wonderful. But, so my template of what familiar love is then is somebody who loves what they do, has a great sense of humor, who's kind of there but not there. And then, boom.
Yeah.
There my partner is. I fall in love, right? So Harville's theory is that's an unconscious attraction when we fall in love, and that romantic stage is so wonderful. We feel fully alive. We say, I feel like I know you. I've always known you. You complete me. And okay, let's go eat Mexican because I know you like Mexican, right? And that lasts 2 minutes to 2 years. Yeah, 2 minutes, people say, oh, 2 minutes? How's it 2 minutes? Well, maybe you just saw that person in the drive-thru or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but I was thinking as you were saying that the foundation of that sustainability is fractured.
Yeah.
Because
right.
You don't yet have the skill set.
You don't have the skill set, and this is all unconscious. And then after that 2 years, after this commitment is made, now, in that romantic period, we feel fully alive. We have no protective cage or anything, and my partner is playful, and we're doing all this stuff together, and all of this, and then all of a sudden, as that commitment's made, we'll put the protective cage, we'll go into defensive patterns that kept us safe and feel loved, and all of a sudden I realized, and that's when we went to this workshop. My wife's down in the arena teaching till 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Dang. And I'm up at the house, and her dad's visiting. He's had a stroke. We're taking care of him, and I feel like I'm doing it all, and I'm just pissed, and I'm reactive.
Yeah.
And I do when I was little and I didn't feel important, I'd go to the creek and turn over rocks and look for crawdads.
Yeah.
And so I do it in adult version. So whatever helped keep us safe and loved as a little kid, we'll do it in an adult version. Well, so I go to this workshop, that workshop as an adult, and I'm turning over rocks of knowledge instead of crawdads. But
so instead of turning to something that was going to be destructive in your relationship, like most people, you went and found things that would fix it. Or not fix it maybe, but would make it better.
Well, I'm still, Ron, I'm not drinking or doing drugs.
Yeah.
We're not beating each other up, but I'm taking my energy out of the relationship.
Not focusing on it.
Yeah, I'm saying, forget it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm exit stage
rocks.
left.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's when we went to the workshop, and just in the first exercises, and my wife was one of those people, you listeners or viewers might, there might be this type of person you say, hey, how you doing? I'm fine. You okay? Yeah, I'm fine, And that just some of the first exercises of the workshop, like you role play. I'm Ron, I'm your mom. Tell me what it was like growing up with me as a kid.
Yeah.
And is there more? And I'm mirroring you. Is there more? And I'm that good enough parent finding out what it was like for you to grow up in my presence. And what was your best time with me as a kid?
So that is one of the key structures or principles of Imago, right?
To explore. and as I'm learning more about you, you're learning more about yourself,
Yeah.
and vice versa.
Yeah.
And you as my partner, you're role playing my caregiver, saying, well, what was your hardest time?
Yeah.
And how did you adapt to that difficulty? And what did you need the most from me? So all of a sudden, bam, 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 light bulbs kind of go off. Wait a minute, I'm pressing that button.
Yeah.
I'm working all the time.
Yeah.
And you don't feel important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so tell me what you need from me. I'm no longer your dad. I'm Jessie. Tell me what you need from me as your life partner.
What do you think blocks us from being able and willing to have that conversation with folks from the get-go? Is it ego, or is it the lack of understanding the process of mirroring, or what blocks us from even beginning that engagement?
Of being able to really go into somebody else's world?
Yeah.
Yeah. So sitting here, I have two globes,
Yeah.
right? Two universes.
Yeah.
And when we first meet in a romantic period, it's real symbiotic, like we're just like this.
Yeah.
But a healthy relationship are two fully alive, differentiated people, right? And there's just all kinds of myths about relationship, right? So I'm in relationship with you, okay, it's good. It shouldn't be work.
Yeah. But it is, right?
It's waking up every day and say, I'm committed to this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's through everything that happens, because even in the relationship environment, it can get polluted. It can get polluted by outside stuff, by hurricanes, by stock market crashes, by job losses, by illnesses, by death, and so forth, by our kids keeping us awake all night, or there's just stuff that happens, and it's about being able to stay in that relationship environment and to be able to keep languaging what's going on.
Yeah, and being committed to that dialogue consistently and not being tired of having those conversations is a key component,
Right. And as Harville started to teach this dialogue form, it's one of his key things to be able to cross the bridge into each other's world and tell me more. I'm gonna take a little visa, and I'm gonna leave my world behind, and I'm gonna cross the bridge over into Ron Gray's world, and I'm just gonna get you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be over there. I gotta set my reactivity aside. I gotta set my stuff aside.
Yeah.
I got to breathe, but I'm going to, and you're going to say I statements. You're not going to be blaming or critical. I'm going to keep mirroring you and then ask, is there more? So it's just being able to dive down into what's really going on.
And just understand what you're feeling and what kind of place you're in, right? To understand what you need in the relationship. We don't know unless we ask, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But being able to do it in this way, I'm able to put my defenses aside. Where we feel like, and we listen, that we only listen like 18%. That we only get 18%, because as you're talking, I'm trying to think about what I'm going to say back. Right. How am I going to respond?
Right.
And so we don't.
And that's why
really
mirroring
listen.
is so important. Some of my research before I sat down with you, I wanted to learn a little bit more about the structure around the theory with Imago, and a lot of what I read about was repeating one another's position, place, that kind of thing.
Right. Awesome.
We're going to take a break and come right back in just a couple of minutes. So you guys stay tuned. We're going to stick with Jessie Bollinger and learn more about Imago Therapy. So you guys stay tuned. This is going to help us start our new year a better you. So we'll see you back.